Hello everyone, it's Dale from Kvarsia's Blood here. It's been a long time since I last posted a video, which I apologise for. It seems life and work often get in the way. But I wanted to post a video, a film review of sorts, about a very interesting film which I just randomly stuck on. So it's a Thursday night. I've had a few horns of the good stuff, of the good ale. I mean, this is empty now. I drank all my beer during the film. I needed it, trust me. So usually on an evening, if I want to wind down, I will either watch a film or read a book and do some writing as well at the end of the night. So I put on Paramount Plus, intending to sift through the selection they have and to pick a film. Now, usually with me, I tend to watch films that I like or films that seem interesting to me in terms of something I would enjoy watching, because time is precious. And I don't really fancy wasting my time watching a pile of trash. But tonight was a little bit different. As I said, a few horns of the good stuff. I was feeling a little bit adventurous, a bit brave. And the first thing that popped up on my Paramount Plus, on the recommendations, was a film called Savage Justice. Now, if you look online, it seems that the film is actually called Savage Salvation. So I'm guessing it's one of those things where it's called Savage Justice over here and Savage Salvation overseas. The main thing that caught my eye was the poster, and on the poster is the legendary Robert De Niro and the legendary John Malkovich, two absolute legends in one film. Wow. It has to be a good film, right? If you have Robert De Niro and John Malkovich in a film, it has to be good. Now, I'm going to show you the poster on my phone. There it is. Now, that poster screams cheap, schlock, camp film. Doesn't it just? Look at that. But I decided, why the hell not? Pressed play and strapped myself in. The first thing I noticed about the film was the vast amounts of film company credits. About a minute and a half I clocked. There are also 42 producers attached to this film. So after slogging through that, the film opens up. I'll give a little brief outline of the plot. I'm going to spoil the film. I don't really care. I really don't care. If you're one of these people that really cares about spoilers and you really don't want this film, Savage Justice, to be spoiled, I advise you turn off now. But I'm going to spoil it. So here we go. It revolves around a couple. This couple are junkies, heroin addicts. They inject each other, they shoot up, they get high. But they want to get clean. They want to get married and they want to get clean. They seem like a good couple, nice people. And they do. They get clean, they go cold turkey. There's this really overly long scene of them going cold turkey, which could have been chopped up and edited a little bit better. It was far too long. And then, of course, our main character, called Shelby. His name's Shelby John. Now, I don't know if the name Shelby is deliberate to kind of have some tenuous link to Peaky Blinders and Tom Shelby, because it's a name synonymous with the bad boy, Shelby John, who is played by Jack Huston. He was very good in the film, actually. The performances all around are pretty solid in the film. I can't really... No, I can have a go at the performances, actually. I'll get to that. And then you have Willa Fitzgerald playing Ruby Red. Ruby Red. So, they get clean. 3 weeks later, time jump. Old Shelby bumps into one of his old drug dealer friends, a man named Elvis, with his little cornrows in his head. And Elvis hasn't seen Shelby in a while and decides to give him a free hit of heroin, which Shelby throws away and says, "No, I don't want that, I'm clean, and you stay away from my wife, or I'm going to kick your ass." And this Elvis is like, "Ooh, there's the old badass I used to know." And then things happen. Boring things happen. It takes a good 45 minutes for anything to really happen in this film. There's a lot of character development, but not great character development. And then we're introduced to John Malkovich's character, named Peter. He is... See, I thought he was Ruby Red's stepdad, but later on in the film he refers to her as the sister he never had. So I don't know if he's meant to be her brother-in-law or her stepdad. But either way, he's somewhat related to her through marriage. And he is a Christian man. A very, very Christian man with a very, very soft-spoken voice and a big grin. Very kind-hearted man. And if you haven't guessed the twist already, there is something hideously wrong with your brain, because I guessed it straight away. Straight away, it's the oldest trick in the book. But I won't reveal it just yet. So anyway, he's in the film for a little bit. Robert De Niro is Sheriff Church. He's putting on an accent. See, I thought the film was set in Louisiana, but then it turns out it's set in Georgia. It's very swampy. Very sort of like by the bayou. I'm English, come on guys, I don't really know much about American geography, so correct me if I'm wrong if Georgia is in the swamplands. But it did have that kind of Louisiana swampy vibe, but it turns out it's in Georgia. So, he is a sheriff with a bit of a dark past, that his son died and he's haunted by the death of his son, but it doesn't really go anywhere. That plot never goes anywhere. There's no arc for him. In fact, Robert De Niro's performance, although he's putting on an accent, so at least he's doing something, his performance does seem very phoned in. There's one point in the film where he's asleep in his police car, and that's the most convincing part of the film, because it just feels like he's sleepwalking through the whole performance. So, our good man Elvis, our good-hearted drug dealer Elvis, tricks old Ruby Red into having a packet of heroin, and she injects herself on the front porch of their little home and dies of an overdose. And our good friend Shelby comes out and he's distraught to find her dead. Now, a scene happens which had me absolutely howling. I'm 9 minutes into this review. I meant for it to be a short one, but it's not. It's long. Right, come on, Dale. Come on, speed it up. So, there's a baptism going on at the local church, and Peter's there. Ruby Red's mom, at least I thought it was her mom, but it could be her older sister. Who knows? Who cares? I wasn't really paying much attention to that part of the plot. I was too busy trying to figure out the next bit that happens. So, Shelby John, in an act of madness, of distraught madness, he dresses his dead girlfriend in a wedding dress. He gets on his trusty motorbike and rides down to the church where a kid is getting baptized. It's Peter and Darlene. That's her name, Darlene. Their young child is getting baptized. So in rides Shelby on his trusty mechanical steed with dead Ruby Red straddled across him. on the front, and he gets off the bike really calmly with her corpse in his arms, and he walks into the river to the vicar, the reverend, whatever, and requests that he baptizes her dead corpse because she wanted to be closer to God or something like that. She wanted to be baptized, cleansed. And the vicar is stunned, but he does it. And then the Ruby Red's family, no one thinks to run up to Shelby and go, "What the fuck are you doing with this dead corpse, you absolute maniac?" Instead, they just stand there, tears in their eyes, and he rides off to enact his revenge. In comes Sheriff Church. He is investigating the corpse. He has his trusty assistant with him, Detective Zeppelin, played by Meadow Williams. I can't really say much about her character. She's just a side character. There's no rapport there with her and the sheriff. She's just there to say a few lines and to be a female dynamic that doesn't go anywhere. But she susses out that Ruby Red died of her own hand. And Sheriff Church, who knows that Shelby is a good man deep down, also spouts this little monologue about how Shelby's also a very dangerous character. He was a wild child and he's a bit of a force to be reckoned with. At no point in the film at all have we got this impression that Shelby is a badass. In fact, the only impression that we got was that he was a useless junkie who did not want to give up the heroin. It was Ruby Red who wanted to give up the heroin. And then, of course, you cut to Shelby John with his little medals, little book of medals that he must have earned in the armed forces. He picks up a nail gun and goes on his revenge mission. The revenge part of the film is very just, he kills Elvis. He then goes to some dudes in a hotel and messes them up. And then he moves on to the big house where all the drugs are made and distributed. He gets clipped a couple of times by a couple of bullets, but all in all, he's this storm of badassery. He knows how to wield any weapon that's thrown at him. He's a bit like a Mary Sue in a way, considering he's meant to be a month off the smack, and he's in peak physical condition enough to go on a murderous killing spree. Then eventually he kills the boss, Coyote, who then calls the top boss, the mysterious top boss, who we had no idea existed. We, as the watcher, as the audience, are led to believe that Coyote is the top one, but just as he's killing Coyote, Coyote calls someone, and then this is another big top boss who's just come into play. And guess who it is, guys? Guess who it is? Guess who it is? Who's the big top boss of this heroin ring? Yes, yeah, it's John Malkovich. It's John Malkovich's character, the kind-hearted, soft-spoken Christian bloke who only appeared in the film for like 4 minutes previously. For a moment, I had thought it might have been Robert De Niro's character, that they would do a little sort of red herring and be like, no, it's actually the sheriff, but no, that writing is a little bit too clever for the writers of this film. So then, of course, he confronts John Malkovich's character, and John Malkovich does his thing where he has a little monologue, the villain monologue, and it's some weird nonsense about knowing the mind of God. There's a few times in the film where it tries to reach some philosophical highs, and it's very surface level philosophy, just spouting platitudes and hoping that these things stick. And of course, he kills John Malkovich's character by making him overdose with the same heroin that killed Ruby Red. And then Shelby, injured, walks down to the river and gets baptized by the vicar, reverend, priest, whatever. Except the film ends with Shelby John in the river with a mirror image of Ruby Red's corpse in the river as well, trying to imply that he dies in the river, but it makes no sense because that would mean the vicar would have had to have kept him down in the water and drowned him, which then makes the vicar a murderer. The river wasn't that deep, it was up to their chests, so he would have had to have kept himself down in the river to die. Yeah, because there's this weird little monologue, once again from Robert De Niro's character. Somebody once told me that your loved ones, their life is like a river, and your loved ones are waiting for you on the delta before the river comes into the ocean. Sorry, my accent was terrible, but yeah, it's like that. And the film ends. Roll credits. And I had not planned this review. I haven't planned this review at all. It's not scripted. I've written nothing for this review. I watched the film, turned it off, then came straight onto my camera to film this. So that's why it's going on for a little bit of a long time, because I was just shocked at what the hell is this movie. It's such a strange story. It's a revenge story. It's just a really cliched, typical revenge story. Girl dies, man go on revenge, killing spree. But it's earned he's earned none of his badassery. I would understand if in the house there were maybe photographs of him in the armed forces with his comrades, his brothers in arms, maybe some medals displayed on the wall, maybe, I don't know, an old uniform, army uniform hanging up in the wardrobe, something to kind of hint at that past. Or maybe he does something to someone that implies that, oh, there's something more to this guy than just being a junkie. None of it's earned. Robert De Niro's sheriff, who's haunted by the death of his son, goes nowhere. It absolutely goes nowhere. It's just a plot device to try and give his character some depth. A smart writer would have had a resolution to that story where maybe there's a child involved and he saves the child to redeem himself of the guilt he feels for his son's death. Instead, he says something to old Detective Zeppelin, and then it's just forgotten about. It's just forgotten about. It's weird seeing legendary actors like Robert De Niro and John Malkovich starring in films like this. These really low-budget Z movies. It's not even a B movie. I would say it's a Z movie. It's really poorly written. It could have been good. It's an interesting take. No, it's not an interesting take. In fact, it's a load of rubbish. I don't recommend it. If you see it on Paramount Plus, don't bother. Don't bother clicking on it. It's in fact, actually, no, do watch it. If you're going to watch it, at least watch it for the scene where he carries his dead fiance's corpse. Sorry, he rides his dead fiance's corpse on a motorbike to a church, carries his dead fiance's corpse down to a river to get her baptized, and no one does anything. No one does anything. No one calls the police immediately. No one bum rushes him and grabs him and says, "What the hell are you doing?" It's worth it just for that entertaining bit alone. But I've prattled on for far too long. I've given this film far more attention than it deserves. But that's enough from me for now. If you like my content, Please feel free to like and subscribe to my channel. Like the video, subscribe to the channel. If you want to support the channel any further, please click the link down below. It will take you to my Linktree page, which has all of my novels, poetry collection, and my Viking pantomime script. If you want to purchase a copy, please feel free. You'll be supporting the channel even further. But until the next time, see you soon.